Welcome to the Think Generational Wealth Podcast, episode number 81. I am your host, Amir Estimo. In today's episode, I will like to just start off with, I always like to start each podcast with appreciation and gratitude. First of all, I am grateful I'm here to be able to have this conversation, share this podcast with you. Also, I appreciate anybody that takes the time to listen to this podcast. You could be doing anything in this world, but the fact that you're listening to this podcast is hopefully of value. Also, please like and share this Please like and share the podcast if you enjoy the content. Also, rate and review the podcast. I would like to know how I can be better, what I can do better to help bring this message out when it comes to wealth, assets, and prosperity. Okay, now let's jump into the episode. In today's episode, I thought I should talk about in today's episode is why your spouse should be your biggest cheerleader when it comes to your dreams. And the reason I say this is one thing, I talked about this maybe 2 podcasts ago. Podcast number, I think it was podcast number 79, where I talked about how I had a point during this podcast where I had stopped recording. And the person that really pushed me to go and back into podcasting has been my wife. And I was thinking of that, and I was saying, you know what, when it comes to even starting a business, your spouse has to be your biggest cheerleader, because you're going to go through times where it's not easy. And let me share a story, a personal story. A while back ago, before I made the transition. So some of you know that I do have a corporate job, and I'm in information technology. So before I went into that, I was into retail management. And when I was just getting tired of it, just tired of the long hours. And one thing I told my wife, and me and my wife actually met there at our job. I knew my wife for a year, and that's where we met. And I was talking to her about this most recently, and I was just talking about my old job, and I was telling her how I appreciate that I'm not there, because I can only imagine how it has been during COVID. And that was before COVID, and it was rough already. So I remember when I made a decision to quit and pursue information technology full time, when I had to share that message with my wife, had that conversation with her, it was toughest thing to do as a man, because your family's looking at you. You're like the provider. You're the one who makes everything go, as far as financially. And to hear that you're not going to have any income for maybe God knows how long was a scary thought to my wife. But for me, I knew it was going to be challenging, but I knew I had to do this. So even during those times, it wasn't easy. I remember I ended up getting a job, and then it didn't work out. And all of a sudden, our baby was on the way a month later, and I have no job. She's holding it down, working. She's pregnant. And to see that time, not only being pregnant, also being my biggest cheerleader. At first, it was scary for her. But then as she saw how serious I was, we both put our heads together, put our faith together, and we say, we're going to make this work. And even now, doing business lately, starting my own business, also I'm looking at other ways to improve my skills. She's been my biggest cheerleader. Now, she's been the toughest on me. Besides me being tough on me sometimes, she's the second toughest, I would say. And sometimes you need that. But you don't need your spouse to nag you when it comes to your dreams. You need them to be your biggest cheerleader. And if you have a spouse that is your biggest cheerleader pushing you, it makes things even easier. Because when you're going through those times being up, maybe learning something new or starting a business, and it's tough, you don't want to come home to more stress. And some spouses could possibly be more nagging than helping. And you need your spouse to do that. You need them to help you go through the tough times. I would say that's reason number one. Reason number two, they have to believe in you. Not only go through the tough times, but they have to believe in you. And you don't want to be in a situation where your spouse does not believe in you. Okay? And if that was the case, I don't even know if you guys would even be together. I don't even know. I don't know what that would look like. But having that person to be your support system to help you go through the tough times, because it's not going to be easy, especially if you have a goal, a vision to build generational wealth, that's not going to be easy. So you got to have someone there to believe in you. That's reason number two. Reason number three, we all eat. And one thing my wife told me is, she's like, it's not if, it's a matter of when. It may be tomorrow, it may be next week, it may be 2 years. But whatever that looks like, when that happens, we all are going to benefit from your success as a family. Your family should benefit from your success. Because your success is what's going to help. Let's say you do have kids, and your success is going to help shape their future. Because how many times you hear, if a parent, let's say the kid came from a very tough home, they had to push even harder because they knew how it feels to be in that situation where you were hungry, you didn't know where your next meal was coming from. Versus when you may have kids, hey, they don't even know what that looks like. And I can tell you right now, my kids, they should benefit from my success too. And because I'm not giving them the whole yarn. I'm not giving them the whole ball. I'm just giving them a yarn, meaning that they're going to have enough information to make that their own and now build their own path. I'm just not going to hand you everything. You're going to work hard for it. And that's the same thing when it comes to your kids. Everybody eats. Everybody benefits from your success. Okay? And I would say the reason number 4 is having that person. Not only they're going to be with you through the tough times, they believe in you, and you benefit from their success. Number 4 is you live a more fulfilled and happier life. Because when you have a partner, you can have a partner, they say, okay, you know what? You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do this. But when you have a partner that pushes you, that is your biggest cheerleader, when you have a life to where not only you're more in love with this person, you appreciate them more, you're grateful for this person being in your life. And it makes your relationship even stronger. And notice I didn't say marriage, okay? The reason I'm saying I didn't say marriage is because not everybody is married. Some people may be dating, courting, whatever that is. But you're in a relationship. And from someone who's been in a relationship for a while, I could tell you right now, if you're thinking about getting married or proposing, whoever listening to this podcast, understand this. If you don't have this person, you don't have these 4 reasons for this person to be in your life, reason number 4 is hard. Because I said earlier, as in you're coming home and then get person nagging at you. It builds more stress. It creates animosity. It creates miscommunication. So number 3 won't happen. Number 4, number 3 won't happen. Number 2, they probably don't, at some point they may not even believe in you. And number 1, They probably not even stick around to the tough times, because you're going to go through those tough times. You are. And when you go through those tough times, having that partner that's locked in with you elbow to elbow, it makes that journey even more worth it. And I can tell you right now, I can see no reason for me to quit anything I'm doing, whether it's podcasting, whether it's helping people with credit repair, whether it's building a land flipping real estate business. Any of that wouldn't mean as much to me if I didn't have somebody who was right there with me and going there, getting to the finish line. So I thought it was good to share this episode with you guys. And I know it's a relatively short episode, but the reason I'm saying this is because I know there's people out there that probably has a spouse that's supporting them, and they can shake their head and probably agree with this message and may even have their own input. And I say for, but there's probably many other reasons. But let's say every reason is subjective to you and where your relationship is at. But the reason, and then you may have some people, their spouse is nowhere near that. And it makes it tough for them to go on this journey, and they make them feel alone. And that's a very tough feeling to be in, because you don't want to go through this journey by yourself. Jeff Bezos, when he built Amazon, he had his wife, who's now his ex-wife, but she was there, right? So, and if you guys ever read Elon Musk's book, and this is the guy who recently bought Twitter, and in his book, I think Elon may have been married maybe a couple of times. I don't remember exactly, but I know in the book, when he was building Tesla, because at first he owned PayPal, sold PayPal, and then he went on to build Tesla, used the money from PayPal to build Tesla and the other solar company he has. And he had somebody right there with him. And there were moments where Elon was struggling, and his partner really helped push him. Now, afterwards, I don't know what happened, but I'm just saying, at the end, having someone there to push you, be your cheerleader, it makes things more at ease, because you know in the back of your mind, and actually not even the back of your mind, in the side, your side, because reason I'm saying is because that person should be right there with you, right next to you, going through this journey with you. And if they're not there for you, and in any of those reasons I listed, if they're not there for that, then maybe you shouldn't be with this person. But that's something you would have to figure out. I appreciate it. And I say this, the reason I'm saying this too, today is actually Mother's Day here in the US. So I'm recording this episode on Mother's Day. And I thought about that, my wife, and I thought about how she's been my supporter, how she's pushed me, and having that person there next to you makes it so much worthwhile. Okay? Hopefully today's episode is of value. Maybe you could take something out of this episode and, maybe learn from it. But I really do appreciate you taking this time for this podcast. And I would like to share something. Listen to my friend's podcast. I think it's called Light and Darkness. It's by Matt Wilson. He just launched this podcast. So go ahead and check that podcast out. It's called, let me make sure I get that for you guys, because I don't really want to give you guys the wrong information. But the podcast is it's a really good podcast. So if you guys want to, please check that podcast out. It is called Light and Darkness. It is by Matt Wilson. Also, now I want to leave you with a quote. And I noticed the last few podcasts, I probably haven't been sharing the word of the day in my Haitian Creole native language. It means lumière, means light. Lumière means light. So if you ever want, hey, I need some light. Can you open the light? Lumière. Okay? All right. I'm going to leave you with a quote of the day, and it's called Find the Good, It's All Around You. Find it, showcase it, and you'll start believing in it. Jesse Owens. Much love. Next week.